All right, guys, welcome back to the shack. Tonight, I've got a little bit of a follow-up to do on my venture down the rabbit hole that is CNC work with a spindle type CNC. Now, you all know that a while back I got the Genmitsu 4040 Pro from SaneSmart, and I've been playing with it, doing a lot of jobs with it. Well, guys, it came with a 4th axis, and it has taken me this long to figure out exactly how to use that thing and to get the software to be able to do so. So it's pretty neat. I don't know how much I'll use it, but it is awesome to be able to do some of the stuff that you can do. Basically, the 4th axis, and this is just a little pocket that I was doing in the beginning to try to make sure I could work it, and then I did that, and of course wound up engraving my name on it. But eventually, after much trial and error, I'm actually able to make little things like this. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just a little tiny palm chess piece. Now, guys, it's not perfect. I'm still learning. I had a little bit of a mess up here on the back, but hey, considering that I have spent the past 3 days pulling my hair out, trying to figure out how to do this, trying to be able to do it, and not finding a whole lot of resources on the internet, I think I've done a pretty good job. I've got it figured out, and I'm going to kind of share with you guys some of the upgrades to the machine, as well as demonstrate how this little guy works. The 4th axis rotary works with the machine. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around and we'll get to it shortly. All right, guys, so before we get too involved in the 4th axis, I want to kind of run you through what I've been able to do to the machine so far. And I know I've cut my head off with the video, but I'm trying to get you down here where you can see this. But I've got the machine set up now. I'm running the DeWalt router. I did get the 69mm adapter from SaneSmart. And instead of the old shop vac, I'm now running myself a dust collection system. This is one of the Win dust collectors like I have for my other tools, and it seems to be doing a pretty good job so far. It's not nearly as loud as the shop vac was. I do have everything relayed so that when the spindle turns on with the software, once the spindle turns on, using the relay that activates the spindle, the power wire for the spindle pulls through a sawdust extraction relay that powers the sawdust extraction. So all that is automatic, and you'll see that here shortly. So this is the 4th axis. Now, I have been cutting these little pieces of wood just as big as I can possibly get them in there. This is actually some dowel I picked up at the hardware store. I think it's 1.25 inches, and this is about as big as I can get in there as far as length and the diameter. Now, I could turn the teeth on the chucks around, I believe, and get a little bit more size, because I could use these outermost areas, but I would lose my length. So I've just been really like cutting them really close. And once you get those guys in there and it's really snug, the most appropriate way would probably be to mark the center on that, guys, but I haven't been doing it. I've just been getting it flush on this end and tying it on there. And it's been doing a pretty good job of, as long as you're cut square, I haven't had any problems so far. After all, I'm going to be engraving or cutting this down anyway. These two little tools here, you have to have them in order to tighten the chuck up. And you just basically turn these and get a good bite on it, and then pull those out, and it's there. With the tailstock here, I've been just pressing it in there, getting some pressure on it, and then tightening up the little set screw. Seems to be working just fine for me. I have learned that with this axis, it plugs into the controller over here, guys, so you don't have to unplug any steppers or anything like that. I have learned that with this 4th axis, it does have a bolt pattern. Now, I've got a piece of wood on here that I've already got taped down where I just started the job and decided not to do it, and I just left that guy on there. But I only have 2 screws in this, but it's more than enough to hold it still. But the cool thing about it is, the way I'm having to run it is using the remote control, the offline controller here. And the reason is because in order for the best way that I have found to be able to use this is to create the file in VCarve and then export the cuts as G-code, put them on a card here, and then what I can do is I can do my roughing pass, change the bit, and then run the finishing pass. And I'm still practicing that. I'm getting better at it, but I am able to make designs. So I'm going to give you a quick little show and tell here. I've also got a camera set up here to record, so I'm going to record from over there as well, and I will include that video as kind of a close-up, better close-up for you. So the way that I've been setting my designs up is I've been setting them up to center, and that makes it a little easier for me because then I can just take my little handheld controller here and move the machine over to the center of my workpiece or thereabouts. Because these are all small designs I've been playing with, it really doesn't matter if it's as far as left and right. It doesn't really matter if it's centered or not. Once I get the bit down, I get it as close as I can to the surface without touching. And then of course, you've got to make sure that you got this side has to be centered, and there's little knobs on the back of this machine that you can adjust, little fine tunements. And get everything lined up. You're in the center of the material this way. I'm in the center of the material this way. And let me go a little more to the right. So most of this fine tuning I do by hand just to keep from worried about breaking a bit or anything like that. But once you get that to where you want it, I've got the bit exactly where I want the design to be. You can go in the little controller here. Now that I've got the G-code built, it makes this really easy, guys. I just hit Start Project. I'm going to go down. I'm going to select the little star. You saw the 2mm deep star that I did. I'm going to select the star file. All right. On the controller, you have to go in and you have to 0 the Z, 0 the alpha, and 0 X and Y. Once I do all of that, all I have to do is hit Start on this controller, and it will start the operation. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to leave all of these the same as I did last time. Make sure you got rotary, diameter of your material. I'm using millimeters, surface focus, or zeroing, I guess. Using the center of the design, doing the x-axis for the orientation. Standard resolution for the modeling, and the material I'm going to leave it the same, which is going to be oak. All right, so for this one, guys, let's do something a little different. We'll draw a circle. I'm going to we'll do a 10mm circle, a 5mm circle, and a 2.5mm circle. All right, oh, that just looks off. So I got 10, 5, so let's do a 7.5. There we go. All right, so I got all these circles. Now, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to basically just create like a little design. So I'm going to start with this one here and go over here, and I'm going to set the material. Remember, if you don't change this little guy right here, it's going to add depth. I'm going to figure out how to make that default to 0. But anyway, until I do, I'm just going to keep remembering to fix that. All right, clearance. All right, and then Z gap above material, 5.09. All that looks good. So I'm going to take this first one right here, guys. I'm going to generate a toolpath for it, and I'm just going to do a pocket. All right, I'm going to set that pocket starting at 0, and I'm going to go down to 1. We'll be using ball nose 1/8 inch, so I ain't got to change a bit. Rest of this I'm going to leave the same. I do want to project it onto the workpiece, the 3D model, and I'm going to hit calculate. Now, remember, I set this one for 1 millimeter. All right, calculate. All right, got that one on there. I'm just going to wait till I get all these created before I go to testing them out here. All right, so there's the tool path. Oof, get that off my workspace. All right, so the second one, I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to create a tool path for it also as a pocket. All right, but this one is going to be inside the other pocket. So it's going to start off at -1. So you got to remember that. Starting depth is going to be at 1, and then I'm going to make it cut down to 2. All right, ball nose, leaving everything else the same. Project it, yes. Calculate. All right, so now I've got 2 tool lines in my workspace. Go back to 3D view, or 2D view. All right, so this one is going to be the third one. So we did 1, then we brought this one down to 2. So this one's going to go to 3. All right, close that out of the way. So I'm going to take that one. That thing hides too quick. Do another one. All right, I'm going to start this one at 2 and cut down to 3 with the ball nose. All that good stuff. So basically, I'm just creating a whole bunch of pockets. But it's going to be a cool design when I get through. All right, so going to the next one. Close that. All right. I'm going to create another pocket out of this one. I'm going to start at 3 and work my way down to 4. So this should look kind of like a step down little bullseye when I'm done. I hope. We'll see. So all these tool paths are stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to go ahead and preview all tool paths. All right, I'm going to move this where you can see what's going on here a little bit. So that should be our ending design, guys. It should be that. So hopefully it'll work out. So let's move over to export that and see what happens. Technically, since they're all using the same bit, maybe it'll work out that I can export all of them at the same time. Save tool paths. All right, so hopefully it'll go in the order. Hopefully it'll go in the order that I've got them here. Let's see what happens. Save tool paths. So I'm just going to call this the black hole, and I'm going to save this on my drive, and then move it over to the CNC. So all right, guys. So once you get the G code saved to the card, there's a little slot here on the side of the controller. You just pop the card in there and make sure that it's seated. I'm going to go back using the controller, and what I'm going to end up doing here, guys, is I'm going to rotate the A-axis to get myself some space to put this design. So I'm just rotating that around, and I'm going to just basically put this on the other side because, like I said, these are just my little demo files. Just want to show you the process. And, guys, I'm still learning, so you can keep your sarcasm. But I'm going to go on here with the controller, and I'm going to add or take off some Z-axis to get it back down to the material. Do a little fine tuning there. It went a little further than it needed to. Once you get that there, I haven't moved it as far as the X-axis goes. So I'm going to go onto the controller, and I'm going to hit Start Project, and I'm going to go down, and I'm going to select the triangle project that we just built. Select it. Of course, you've got to go through, zero and everything out. And then once you do that, you go down to Start, and it's a simple press of a button. So here we go. All right, guys, so that went as expected. So I gotta make me a little holder for my controller. I thought maybe I overlooked it, but I haven't found one yet. So I'm gonna back this thing away and we'll look at the design and see how it turned out. See if it worked out the way that I had hoped it would. But time to move on to something else for today. I am gonna be doing some other testing with some other machines, but I got projects to work on. So for today, we're gonna wrap this up here shortly. So once I get it moved back out of the way, it's gonna release that little nut there to allow me to extract this pin here. Get that back. Then I gotta open my drawer, grab my little handles, and insert them into there and release the material. So I'm going to turn those back around a little bit. I have found that if you open this little nut all the way, you can take these out, which I'm guessing you can flip them around, put them back in the other way. But once they fall out, you got to put them back in there. So I'm going to back that up so they won't fall out. But the bits and everything that I'm using, you may notice that I'm running a 1/8 inch bit in this machine. I bought myself some little collet adapters, and I was a little scared of them at first. I got them off Amazon, but it allows me to use the Genmitsu 1/8 inch bits with the DeWalt, and that's pretty handy. So that's how I'm able to run those 1/8 inch bits. But straight off of the machine, guys, there's the final product of that design we did. It worked the way that I had hoped. Of course, I would need to sand that up just a little bit. And I have these cool little sanding sticks that I can actually sand down in the holes with. Those are pretty handy. But a little sanding, and next thing you know, I've got it. The design is the way that I wanted it. So there you go. Of course, it could use a little more sanding, but same thing with the little stars. These things are pretty handy, where you can just actually just kind of run them across the edges. Got those on Amazon. Like I said, I'll put links to like all the CNC stuff that I've come across so far, guys. Another little waiver. I am an amateur at this. I've only had this machine now for a few weeks, although I have been doing a lot of studying, a lot of research, trying to learn how to use it. I do not know all there is to know about this stuff. And you can see that one where I created the profile for a flat tip end mill and used the ball nose, and so it left those little lines, but that's actually kind of cool looking. And this is a triangle. That triangle, when I first started cutting it, for some reason, this right side right here had like a little shoulder where it was skipping over and moving over. I don't know what that was about, but it cleaned it up on that final pass and made it look the way that it was supposed to. So I guess all's well that ends well, right? But you can sit down with these little sticks and really do a good job of cleaning this stuff up. This is this little test piece of wood. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that, but you can see the results, guys. There's the triangle. It's the star we did, and of course there's the file that we built where it steps down 1 millimeter to each circle until it gets to the bottom. And I did set that one up to use a ball bit, so it looks a lot cleaner that way. So there you go. All right, guys. So all in all, I think I've came a long way, considering that a few weeks ago I had absolutely no idea how to use a CNC, and it took me 3 days of very, very frustrating times to figure this little roller here out. But now that I've got it, and I've figured out a very, very simple way of engraving on little circular objects like this, I plan upon expanding, and doing more. I don't know where the problem came up with the little pawn here, but like I said, I had a little bit of a spot in the back that it didn't make it to. I've still got some work to do to be able to do the 3D cutouts like this. One thing that I'm going to have to learn is how to leave a little bit bigger tabs on the stock to make sure that it doesn't break off before it gets completed, that kind of thing. But hey, I'm happy with this for now, guys. I'll try to master this later. But for now, I've got a friend of mine that does a lot of work with clay. She makes earrings and things. And these little pieces of stock like this would actually make a pretty good little rolling pin for her to use to do patterns on clay and stuff. And she's asked me about making some of those, and now I can. So that's kind of cool. But I hope the video helps you guys. Like I said, I was scouring the internet looking for videos of how to use this machine with the SaneSmart 4040 Pro, and there's not a lot out there. I found little bits and pieces here and there. I compiled all the information that I could find, and I've kind of put it together in one consistent video, hoping that if you have the SaneSmart 4040 Pro with the 4th axis, now you know how you can go about using it. Now, I will tell you guys, they do like VCarve. So if you're entertaining getting one of these things and you want to do this kind of stuff, make sure to do your homework and make sure how much the equipment's going to cost you, as well as VCarve. Because unless you're planning on making money with it, VCarve will hurt your feelings. It's a nice little chunk, but it's a really good software. It's very simple. I have been running easel for 2-dimensional engraves. I like it, but when it came to this, it just didn't have the capabilities, so I had to jump over to VCarve and was able to do this. So, all right, guys, so there we are, my journey with the CNC, learning every day. It can be frustrating, but I'm committed to learning this thing and getting to where I can turn out a lot more projects with it, and also committed to trying to provide you guys with a little more information to help you along your journey as we try to learn these things. So if you haven't already, guys, go down and hit that subscribe button, hit the bell. That way when I release a video, you'll know to come watch it. I do have another SaneSmart machine in the shop that I've just got put together. It's basically the same principles, so hopefully the learning curve won't be as far. But I'm going to get this video out with it as soon as I can. But I was kind of behind the 8 ball on this guy because it took me weeks to figure out how to operate it. So stay tuned, and there'll be more content. If you're into CNCs, lasers, or woodworking projects, go again, guys, go hit that subscribe button. And until next time, be safe and have a good day.